you never heard of. Hey everybody, welcome to the Common Folk Podcast with Ben, Morgan, and Andy.
All right, welcome back to Common Folk.
Yes, we are back.
We're back. Are you sure
There we
my
go.
mic's on?
I think I can shut it off. Is it on now? Let me hear you talk a little bit. Hello? Nope, it's not.
there
Should
we
we
go.
leave it that way?
Oh,
Sounds better.
get yourself in trouble early on here.
Wow.
My God.
See who has the controls. Don't mess.
Wow. But these dots normally are lit up.
Yeah, it's because we got a memory chip issue.
So we're just C and D today, not A and B?
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Okay.
So anyway,
Anyway,
Taking them behind the scenes, checking out the player.
guys, we have some issues. No, I'm kidding.
So today, let's just get right into it. So
Yeah.
today, we've got a return guest. Let me see. What episode did I say that was?
39, friend of the program, Adam Knecht.
Adam
Yeah,
Knecht.
thanks for having me
39.
back.
Yeah, and you said it was November.
Yeah, 39 in November. Yep. So we talked to Adam about his fitness company and kind of how that journey's been. And that's still going pretty good for you?
Yeah, that's going great. We're super busy, so.
Well, they
Good
got
deal.
the common folk bump, you know.
That's probably what it
late
is.
November. He's probably
Yeah.
you've been able to keep up with the rush.
It's been tough. I had to hire a couple of people because they kept saying I get all of the referrals from common folk.
Oh,
Sounds
wow.
right.
I always tell people that's a good problem, you know, to be a little
Totally.
too busy. You know.
Yeah.
You don't want to be the other way.
It
That's
definitely
true.
doesn't have anything to do with it. It was like the beginning of the new year or anything like that.
No,
Oh,
no.
okay.
Health goals are pretty
Laid back.
minimal on the beginning of the new year.
Is
Right.
that so? It's what? It's the beginning of April right now. So do you actually see that? Like sidebar, do you see right there in the beginning of the year like a big jump and like a lot of interest, and then are you starting to kind of see a little bit of fade, and the people who are really going to stick with it are sticking with it?
Yeah, we don't in my business anymore.
Okay.
So I really, when I worked at a gym early on,
Gotcha.
that was
Yeah.
a huge thing. But it was in the area of my business, there was a lot of appointments set, right? Not a lot of a commitment. So you're like, cool, nobody's here. All right, call them. Nobody's answering. Cool. So we wanted to diminish that in our business. But yeah, that's usually the way it works. And
Gotcha.
Well, and there's a day, it's like February 24th or something, where the majority, over 50% of the New Year's Day resolutions, especially the health goals, they all fall victim to that
That
day.
early? Already in February?
Yeah. So, yeah, people go, almost 2 months is how long people can stick to their guns as far as their New Year's
Yeah.
resolution.
It is
Nice.
hard to, I think we talked about in the episode just to stay consistent and stuff, but
Yeah,
we're not talking
so-
about working out today. We're talking about something
so
else.
during that episode, if folks go back to that, we touched on a little bit the fact that Adam had been involved growing up in skeet shooting and competitive skeet shooting, and we wanted to get into those details a little bit because for us personally, it's something that I did growing up, not skeet but trap. So I really enjoy it, and I love the topic, and I think a lot of people who are listening do as well. We've got a lot of, just shooters and outdoorsmen and outdoors women and all that listen to the podcast. So it's a kind of a fun topic. It's something that not a lot of people talk about. So for a little bit of background or a little bit of what's going on today, our son is in 6th grade and he started this year on the trap team in school. So he starts junior high next year, but they let him start in 6th grade. And then they do that all through high school. So he's considered a junior is what they call it in the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. So we've been Morgan and I have been getting more and more involved in it, and just in having conversations with people, like it's clear people don't understand what it is. Like, how does that work? What's going on? What are the rules? How do you do this? How do you do that?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so strange. Like there's all these unknowns. So I thought it'd be fun to talk about something that a lot of people could relate to, and then also kind of talk about your story and how you got involved and what level you took it to. And then maybe some specifics about it. I don't know. We'll see what we get into. So that's the whole idea behind this conversation.
I mean, even I didn't know. I mean, I knew you did it, but I didn't really know how it would actually work when he's standing up there. I didn't know how many, I didn't even know that thing was called a house. I still don't
Right.
have all the lingo.
and you're light years ahead of most, because I feel most people, especially from an urban environment, they're like, You're telling me a 6th grader's taking a shotgun to school and he's shooting it out back?
Oh gosh, no.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. Well, and at some schools, that's the case.
Yes.
Really?
So
Yeah.
at our small school here, that's not. But
Because they have to go elsewhere.
well, know what I'm saying? Yeah, we here. But surprisingly enough, you head up towards Omaha and you get into some of the big schools up there in Omaha, and they, from what I understand, I haven't seen them, but they have trap houses
Yeah.
on the property.
Oh.
So they're
See,
out there shooting at their
I didn't
schools.
even know that. Okay.
Yeah.
One of the girls' Catholic schools, you probably know this, Adam, but they've just been dominating Skeet or, Team Skeet. I mean, just year in and year out. And it's just this little Catholic school up in North Omaha that just dominates.
So to give people a little bit of background on that, so we, the organization, and I don't even fully understand this yet, but there's like governing bodies, with these different names, whatever, ECTC and so on and so forth. There's like these different regions. So we are here locally. We're in, I think they call it like the southern region or something like that. So there's, I don't know what it is, 7, 8 schools, something like that are involved in the shoot every week. But we don't compete against the central or the northern or whatever, which includes, the Omaha area,
Right.
the Lincoln area, like those kinds of schools, until the state meet. So we all just compete against these same ones for the few same weeks. So, the school you're referencing, wherever those women are, we haven't experienced and we haven't seen them around.
Well, your boy would probably lose. So.
Yeah, there's a fair chance.
He probably would.
He'd be just looking around the whole time.
man, what's going on?
Who are these girls?
Hey.
So,
Yeah, exactly.
Adam, tell us a little bit about, so let's start with, I want to talk about how you got involved, and I want to talk a little bit so people understand the difference between Skeet and Trap, because you were more involved in Skeet, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I got more involved in Skeet, and I got involved, my dad grew up hunting and fishing, and so he would always take me out at a young age, and I couldn't hit the broadside of a barn, and of course, like, I'm probably like a lot of you guys, I'm super competitive, and, after about the 5th pheasant I missed, I'm pissed. Like, it's not fun for him anymore. I'm wanting to throw my gun across the creek. And so he worked with a guy that did some skeet shooting, and
Okay.
he was like, "Oh, you need to get him out. Just learn leads, learn how to like put the barrel in front of a bird, And so I got out there and started just kind of actively shooting that way, and it really just grew. I'd go with him to his league shoots, and then I started shooting in his league a little bit, and just like anything, it just
So
kind of grows on you.
The gentleman you're talking about, or your dad, who was in the league?
Yeah, my dad was in the league
Okay.
with a friend of his that he worked
Okay.
with at the time,
Yep.
and that's who kind of recommended, like, we'll take him out and get him shooting a little bit,
Yeah.
and, like, learning some of this stuff. And
I did a quick little bit of digging beforehand because I just wanted to see like some things that I didn't know, and that is where it came from. That's where this whole sport got started, was people having been hunting and wanting to hone in their shooting skills for hunting. So it's all around bird hunting is kind of how it all came up.
yeah,
Makes you a way better hunter. And
Yeah,
it's
gotta be.
it's more of a fair deal for the game, too. You're not going to injure or wing a bird, clip a bird.
Yeah, good point.
100%.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So in talking about Trap and Skeet, so you did that when you were first getting involved with these guys and with your dad. Were you guys out trap shooting, or were you doing skeet immediately, or how did that work?
yeah. So we stayed more on the skeet side of things.
Okay.
The lesser people were more on the trap side of things.
I
so.
see. Yeah.
Shots already
Yep.
fired.
Wow, that's us. No kidding.
I'm sure there's some competitiveness there.
There probably is.
There totally is.
But
Yeah.
do people not normally do both? It's one or the other.
Yeah, usually it's competitively. It's usually one or
Okay.
the other. I
You
mean,
wouldn't
there's
wanna do
shoots that you do all of them and include sporting clays into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It kind of reminds me of like Navy guys talking to Air Force guys.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pecking order there.
Yeah. It made sense to me when I started looking into it, because as far as skeet shooting goes, I did trap shooting growing up in high school, and then we've always just had a thrower out here that we just do, and that's more similar to trap, I think, the way we have it set up. But in digging into what skeet is, since we've been involved in it with Joel shoots an over-under, so a double-barrel shotgun, and a lot of the kids just have a single barrel, whatever it is that they're shooting. And I've been questioning, like, why do these kids? Is there even a double barrel offered in a trap gun? But that's the reason why it's skeet. Mm-hmm. I think that's got to be it.
Yeah, usually. Yeah. And if you get into like doubles, right?
Yeah.
You need to.
But even in like in trap competition, I don't know if they even throw doubles. I haven't seen any of that. Do they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they should.
Okay. So we haven't gotten into that yet, I guess.
Yeah.
But as far as the difference, so like just the basics. So trap, you've got a trap house out there to start with 16 yards ahead of you. There's 5 positions kind of in a half circle setup. And one by one, each person takes a shot with 5 shots at each position. And you don't know what direction the clay is going to go, but you know where it's coming from. And that's pretty much the basics. So you holler for it, you take your shot, you hit or you miss, and the next person goes, and you do that 5 times at 5 different stations for a total of 25. So that's kind of the gist of it. Does that explain it? Is there any other input on that? No?
No, I was just trying to think. You said that. Good.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
basic. And then it does get a little bit more complicated with handicaps and so on and so forth,
Yeah,
but
I
that's
still
the
don't get that.
basic. So then what's the basics of skeet? I'm not very familiar with that.
Yeah, so the basic of skeet is the difference is there's a high house where the trap is sitting up about 15 feet high, and then there's a low house where the trap's about 4 foot off the ground. And there's 8 stations that basically make a half moon, goes from one end to the other end, from the high to the low. And depending on what station you're on, so station 1 and 2, you shoot 4 targets. Station 3 through 5, you shoot 2 targets. 6 and 7, you shoot 4, and then 8, you shoot 2. If you run them all, you'll shoot 3 at station 8. So
Okay.
if you miss one of your first targets on the round, you'll reshoot that target. That'll create your 25th target.
Okay.
But they come out of both angles, so they come out of the high and the low, and you always know where it's coming from. That's really the biggest difference, and there's just a lot more angles to it than there is with trap.
So is that those throwers, are they out in front of you and throwing away from you?
Depending on where you're at in the station. So like station 1, the high house is literally right above me, and it's going away from me.
Okay.
And then the low house, obviously, it's literally coming right at me
Okay.
to go over top my head pretty much.
Oh,
So you have some targets that are not flying away from you. They're flying kind of in a general at you direction.
Yeah. And then as you work your way around, that angle obviously becomes greater to where they kind of just come
Yep.
straight across in
Yep.
front of your face.
And so do they throw out of those throwers at the same spot every time? Or do those throwers move at all?
Nope, those throwers
Okay.
don't move.
So, and then based on your position decides what angle it's going to be coming from.
Exactly.
so you
Got
start
it.
getting a feel for your position 1, which angle, how you're
Yep.
going to shoot.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's where hold points and focal points are so big on that sport.
Yeah. And as you were talking about earlier, you're joking a little bit, but like, oh yeah, this is the superior sport. But really, like, if you're a shooter and you think about that, I can see how that would be a whole lot tougher. I mean, you got targets are going to be coming faster at harder angles, at you, away from you, all kinds of crazy things, right?
For sure. But you'd also know where it's going, right? Trap,
Sure.
you don't necessarily know the exact angle. You
Yep.
know where it's coming out of,
Yep.
but it might be coming out of a right angle, left angle, straight, whatever. So,
Yeah. So both of them kind of have their unique
absolutely.
deals that would help build your skills. But yeah, and I think I definitely would have more trouble with skeet, but I think it's just because I've been shooting trap.
100%.
So maybe I'd have to get used to that.
Andy, I heard that you're good at pheasant.
I'm terrible at everything.
Come on.
Oh man,
I'm kidding.
Our last pheasant episode, they got me pretty good. It was a shot. I mean, it should have been an easy shot, just right in front of me, horizontal, and I was behind. And then you were there. Everyone was.
I got it
flipping
on
me.
That's
camera.
why I said it, because he was there. I don't really know.
Yeah. I didn't edit it out. I put it on there. I even poked fun at myself.
I think
so.
it was on the drone, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I was flying the
Oh.
drone behind you.
Yeah, it was like the best camera work the entire episode. Just happened to get my miss in the first shot of the day.
Did you ever get one, though?
I did. I made the next
Okay.
one. I made the next one, which is actually it was a tougher shot. That one was on the drone too,
Yeah,
up over
yeah.
top. But
I mean, everyone's going to
Yeah.
miss.
And it's kind of
on.
crazy.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
a pheasant is only like 4 or 5 times the size of a clay target, but
it's like
it's just
a big old inflated football just right in front of my face, wobbling along.
yeah.
Yeah, So,
Yeah.
but you didn't do it in high school.
No, but
Did your little school have it?
No, it wasn't
Oh,
even offered.
Wasn't even a thing.
No,
Okay.
No, but same type of deal. We just had one of those little hand throwers.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of my uncles might have had you pull it back and that was on the ground. But
Yeah.
that was still just a single load
Yep.
type deal there. And it was just recreational stuff like that, you know.
And it doesn't seem like there's really any rhyme or reason as far as schools go. So around here, like our town, Murray is like, I don't know what it is, 500-600 people, something like that. But then plus Beaver Lake, that's another 1,000. So let's say it's 1,500. That school has it. And then right down the street, Plattsmouth is, what's the population of Plattsmouth? 4,000? I don't know.
It's about 6,000.
6? Okay,
Yeah.
boom. So quite a bit bigger. And they don't have a team.
Right.
Some of their kids will shoot with Conestoga if they know about it.
Right.
But the message hasn't been conveyed that, hey, you know, like a lot of kids don't even know it exists.
Right. Oh, yeah.
So it doesn't really necessarily have anything to do with the size of the school. It has more to do with kind of the local motivation, I think, to have that team.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I see it a lot in the tech side of it, you know, broadcasting.
Okay.
Some schools have just a phenomenal broadcasting equipment, kids that are learning how to, you know, work the board like what you're doing right here. And then other schools don't have anything, you know, and it's all, you hit the nail on the head. Is there a teacher? Is there an administrator who cares about
Who's
it?
into it? Yeah.
Who's into it? And that's what it takes. It takes somebody to actually care about it. And it's kind of hit or miss between all the different school districts.
And we're kind of at that crossroads right now in our school district because the guy who's been in charge of it has been in charge of it for like 20-something years from the sounds of it. And he's just at a point where like he's doing fine with it, but he's about done. You know, he's about done. He's ready to move on. So someone's going to have to step up and take that over, or else this program's going away.
It will. It will go away too.
Yeah.
Your old stomping grounds, Kearney. Did you see their old baseball coach put out his retirement notice? So the guy that started high school baseball started the program at Kearney, a Class A school, like you're saying. Like, how can a Class A school not have baseball? Well, this one didn't until 5 years ago. The longtime Legion coach, God, his name's escaping me, but he was a part-time, or what do you want to call it, sub-teacher and assistant coach on the football team and track. And he finally got baseball put through, and he made the commitment to him, like, look, I'm getting older. He's coached baseball for 42 years.
Wow.
But he finally got the program up and running and said, I'll do it for 5, and then I'm handing it off. And I think there's already a little bit of worry going on out there, like, someone's got to pick this up,
Yeah.
or it's just going to go away again.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know.
And that's baseball, which people
Yeah. But
know
it's the same
and
story,
understand.
like what we're talking about.
Yeah,
here.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
So-
with a sport that's not as common, I would think that would be harder to keep
yeah,
going.
for sure.
Yeah.
To have the interest and
Yeah.
the backing and all that. So back to what you had going on, Adam. So you were saying your father got you involved and you were out there shooting with their league and so on and so forth. Were you like junior high-ish age, high school age at that time? What was the...
No, I was maybe just into junior high, 11
Okay.
or 12.
Okay.
Yeah, so when I first started, I had to be probably younger than that when I first started, probably maybe 9 or 10.
Yep.
Because I won the world championship at 12.
Okay.
So
So at that point, as you started getting more and more involved in it, it didn't have anything to do with your school at all. It was just kind of a separate league, right?
yeah, our school didn't have anything to do with it.
Gotcha.
So I
So
don't know
you're-
anybody around there that actually has a team
Okay.
outside of Donovan, where the state
The
trap
state is,
shooters.
yep. So, so you're getting involved in that. You're shooting with this league, and then just kind of like, what happens next? Like, how do you decide to kind of take that next step and get so serious with it?
Yeah, I don't know. It just kind of was a progression. So I shot some leagues, and then we started shooting around the state. Obviously, I'm from around the Grand Island area, so we shot at a club called Indian Island out there, and then we'd do some Lincoln shoots and some Omaha shoots in North Platte. Those were the 4 main places that they did skeet shooting. I probably did that for a couple of years, and I don't really remember, but what my dad tells me is that the Olympics were on, and for some reason I said, it'd be cool if they had shooting in the Olympics, you know, and then I probably just ran and played something.
Yeah.
Well, he actually looked it up and found out that there is like the sport of trap and shooting and all that stuff in the Olympics. And so without telling me, he was like trying to figure out, well, how do you get down to Colorado Springs and go down the Olympic Training Center? How do you even get started in this? And well, one of them is winning like a world championship within the United States, and you get an invitation. So we booked this. I've never shot out of the state of Nebraska, and he randomly books this family vacation to McConnelston, Pennsylvania, when I'm 12. Of course, we don't fly. We have to drive there.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. I mean,
That's
imagine
a
how
hike.
that went. And so we end up getting there, and I randomly actually just won it, and never thought that would happen. And of course, on the way home, they're like, well, here's the reason why we did it. And they were
Oh
like,
my gosh.
yeah, they're like, we thought like this would just be a good experience. We would tell you why we did it. Maybe down the road we would see this happen. But
Yeah.
they're like, you're probably going to get a call. And I got a call from the coach probably about a month later. And I think it was in December. We went down to the Olympic Training Center and did some shooting with him. And he put me on their national development team. And
That's wild.
But where was the training at for the Olympics? Or the Olympic training team?
At the time, it was down in Colorado Springs at the Olympic Training Center
Okay.
down there. That's where their base was. It's now up in Michigan is where all the
Okay.
shooting athletes go.
So you would just go there like a couple times or for a week or what?
Yeah, so American shooting and international shooting is completely different.
Oh.
And so where I shot was set up for American, but it was not set up for international. So I would go down there, I think if I remember right, the first probably about 2 to 3 years, probably 2 to 3 times a month. where
Oh,
we'd go down
goodness.
there. Yeah.
Okay.
And we did sponsorships and had people that helped pay for some of that stuff. But and then we finally got the Indian Island or Nebraska Heartland Shooting Park now talked into buying some different traps, some international things, so I could practice out there and make it a lot more. So they were really helpful in the development of that and buying some of that stuff to make that work.
Because then when you went to compete, it was 100% different.
100%, yeah.
So what was different since you explained a little bit earlier? Is it easier to explain or no?
Yeah, so the layout's all the same. So there's
Yeah.
still high-low, 8 stations. The difference is in American Skeet, you start shouldered gun. Here you got to start with the gun at your hip. And then when you call pull, there's up to a 3-second delay. So you don't know when the target's coming. It
Oh.
could come instantly. It could second and a half. And you can't move until the target's visibly sought.
So you can't draw your gun or pull it up.
Until you see the target. Out of American Skeet, they're running right around 52, 53 miles per hour coming out of the house. In international, it's 74.
Holy cow.
And then they're just a little bit smaller of a target, so which makes them actually the circumference of them harder. Right.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a
So-
lot different.
To rewind a little bit, I have a couple questions. So that early on, from the time you started shooting with that league and to the time that you went to Pennsylvania, you said, how long had you been shooting?
Probably like probably right at 3 to maybe 3.5 years.
Okay. And you had won some kind of championship prior to that?
Just some like local state stuff.
Okay. And your parents just thought like, he seems like he's good enough. Let's go hit a national.
pretty much.
Yeah,
Yeah. It was such a random thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm getting at. So that's kind of cool. So the gun that you were using, do you remember?
Yeah.
So did you start with something and then change it by the time you went to Pennsylvania, or how did that work?
No. So my dad was always a big believer in, if you can hit something with a 410, you can hit something with a 12 gauge, right?
Okay.
And so literally when I went there, I had a 3-set 1100 set, so shotgun. So it wasn't over and under.
So
which,
when you say 3-set, you mean 3 different barrels?
Yep,
for
so I
3
had a
different
410,
chokes?
28, and 20.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So he didn't even allow me to shoot a 12 gauge just because of my age, and he didn't want me to start flinching or anything like that. And
Yep.
so when I went, I had that, which everybody else is shooting these Perazzi's and $5,000 and $6,000, $7,000 guns.
Yeah.
I got like probably $800 at the time.
1100.
Yeah,
Yeah.
1100 Winchester and
Yeah.
semi-auto, and so and then I ended up winning the 12 gauge with the 20 gauge, and
That's crazy.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, that's so
The 20
awesome.
gauge, that's great.
That's
it's
wild.
funny. I got this little picture of me on the podium with like a Nebraska hat, and I look like I'm 4.
I bet,
People were
because how
probably-
old were your competitors?
25,
Any age?
30, yeah.
Shoot,
Oh,
you're
it was
12?
all ages.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you're kind of acting really modest here and really like not bragging on yourself at all, which is great. But like, I mean, this is a big deal.
That's pretty wild.
like,
really.
it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it was fun.
You're like, like it's no big deal. No, that's a big deal, I think. I mean,
So
a 12-year-old going up against 25, 30-year-olds.
Well, not only that, but and we'll get into, or I don't know if we'll get into this or not, but after we get done with this podcast, we're going to go out and shoot a little bit, and we're going to talk a little bit about that too. But watching that 20 gauge versus 12 gauge, even in the current competitive market, it's a game changer and maybe you'll talk a little bit about that, how different you feel about those. But Joel's shooting a 20, and that's what we're trying to bring him up on. But that's why I was just curious about that, because you see, like you said, you see all these crazy guns. I mean, there's kids out here, there's high school kids that we see with $12,000, $15,000 shotguns, you know. And I mean, we're shooting a gun that I bought him for Christmas for like $700, which, you know, 10 years ago was probably a $300 shotgun.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just that everything's going up in value. But he gets the job done, and we go with it.
And he's doing good.
He's doing fine.
Yeah.
So you're there. You guys are on your way back. You find out what your parents, what the whole point of that was, and then what's next?
Yeah, so I'm trying to remember. I think it was in September, and like I said, it was about a month later. I got a call from Lloyd Woodhouse at the time, which was the U.S. Olympic shotgun coach, and basically just invited us down to do some shooting with him, which is pretty common if you win it. And you can, I think people decline it, it sounds like, after talking to him for a while. A lot of people decline it. They're not interested in that. They like the American style. And so, of course, we went down there and shot, and from what I understand, he liked what he saw and saw development and saw potential, so he put me on their national development team, which allowed me to come down to Colorado Springs and stay at the Olympic Training Center and train with the coaches and train with him and train with some of the athletes that were staying down there. And so, yeah, and then just you grow and make teams. And
So at that point, when you get involved in that, then do you switch guns?
so I didn't for like the first year.
Really?
Yeah, because, you know, I was so new that, you know, and I mean, cost money, obviously. I mean, $12,000, $15,000.
Yeah.
My family didn't, I mean, we didn't grow up with that type of money. So I shot that for probably the first 2 years. And then as I started making some teams and then traveling more overseas, that's when you want things like, as far as like an over and under and different things like that, because obviously something breaks, you're SOL at that point.
Sure, yep. So that's kind of a testament too to some of those manufacturers. I mean, you're shooting a who knows how old 1100 Olympic level training.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty wild.
But I also get a kick out of how your old man was right. You know, if you can hit it with the 410, you can hit it with the 12 gauge, and you can hit it with an old 1100. Yep. You know, it doesn't matter. It's more to do with the shooter, not the mechanism.
Shooter, not the gun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm surprised actually the coach didn't push you to get something, you know, different sooner. So I think that's also pretty cool.
Yeah, no, he never, that I knew of, he never did. I don't know whether that had talks with my parents, but
I get the impression that a lot of that has changed too. It's like anything else. Like I feel like these shooting sports are kind of like golf.
Right.
Yeah, in that just kind of the way they're handled and like how the tech develops and what the tools are and so on and so forth. So like anymore, like if you're into golf, I'm really not, but I see it every now and then. There, you know, you can buy clubs that are absolutely outrageous, and you can buy clubs that aren't.
Right.
And there's guys that can do the same with both of them. But there's other guys that are like, oh no, these ones, this shaved 4 points off my game or whatever. You know what I mean? Like you have all that kind of stuff, and I feel like it's so similar to that.
Well, and I don't want to call it commercialized, but the majority of the money that professional golfers make are through endorsements. So everybody's wearing a Titleist hat, Adidas, whatever, TaylorMade. That's where it's at. And I would feel the same has probably followed suit with the shooting sports, where if a kid like you shows up with an old shotgun, they're like, no, we got you this beauty right here, free. You just have to use it and, you know, pose for a couple pictures for us.
Yeah.
I would assume that's the way it is now.
That would happen eventually, yeah.
You know.
So you come back and you're getting involved with those guys, and you're going out to Colorado Springs and those kinds of things, and obviously you're spending some time at home, and you mentioned this earlier, you're shooting at some of the local ranges, and they started like kind of supporting and bringing in other equipment or whatever and kind of developing that sport. Do I have that right?
Yeah. So there's obviously a big difference between the types of traps and things like that are used. And so, but once I think they saw that I was serious about continuing this process and making teams, you know, they were great in being able to support me and using funds to do that. And because one of those traps is like $8,500. I mean, it's not cheap, you know, so then you got to buy two of them and then targets. And yeah.
Did you see, or have you seen, based on the influence that you had and like the like I said, the influence that you brought back to your home with your success, that kind of developed that sport in your area? Like then was there more kids getting involved in it?
Yeah, into the shooting there was. So there wasn't a team at Grand Island Senior High when I was shooting, and there is now. And they shoot all different sports. Trap's a way bigger sport than what skeet is. I mean, you see it at the Donovan Trap State Shoot. There's 1,500 shooters. Well, the state skeet shoots might have 100, literally, kids shooting in it. So Trap's such a bigger sport. So most of them identified with that and went that route. But yeah, there was definitely a bigger showcase to it, and as it started getting to be recognized a little bit. And,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Is that what that team, high school team out of Broken Bow, they shoot trap? Like they're always ranked nationally. They go to all these different championships. I just know it because we just did an episode over the Nebraska One Box, and a lot of those monies are raised for scholarships, shooting scholarships, things of that nature, and they also support the local high school team, and I think it's a trap team. And they always go down to this big competition in Texas and just clean house, like year in and year out to get first or second. And just teams from all over the nation. They go to Dallas, and like you're saying, little kid in a Nebraska hat, just pew, pew, pew. Yep, taking them down.
Yeah.
That's right.
I feel like the sport is so, I don't want to say underrated, but it kind of is, but it's more like just people don't know about it. Because we go out to these things, and it's like, it's a big event, and it's an all-day event. It's a 5 a.m. to 6 or 7 p.m. event.
Setting up a tent, the team brings breakfast, we cook, they'll do lunch. I mean, like, this is no joke.
And a lot of people come in,
yeah.
and a lot of teams bring in like their own enclosed trailers that have all of their stuff for their kind of campsite setup and their grills and a little bit, kind of a base station for the team to come back to and hang out and chat about and get on the same page and all this kind of thing. It's really a neat community. It's fun. Yeah. I mean, it's cool to be a part of. It's fun to see, but I feel like it's like a hidden gem. And it's also kind of one of those things, we've talked about this with hunting before. Like, do you really want to let everybody know? Because it might get
right.
It might get a little too crazy. Like, you kind of want to keep it. Like, you want to keep your hunting spot or your fishing spot to yourself. You don't
we got this cool little sport over here.
But you know what I have found, that just us being involved in so many sports at so many different levels with our oldest too, that this is a little bit different. And I don't know if it goes back to the money piece. I haven't put my finger on it. And maybe this is just the experience that I have with Joel's team. It's almost hard for the coach to like mandate you have to be there. One, you're paying for your own shells. Like, we bring the expensive gun or not. I mean, there's a lot of things. We paid for all these clays. So I don't know. I've seen a little bit of difference of not maybe so much I don't know if I want to say commitment. What do you think?
What I think it is what I was just talking about, is that there's less people involved.
Okay.
So it's like, on our team as an example, it's a small team, and we have consistently week after week about 8 to 10 shooters. So, 5 positions, you got 2 teams, basically. There's some schools that have like 70 or 80 shooters. When you've only got that few of kids, 8 to 10, it's like, if someone can't come, they can't come. They're not losing their spot.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Maybe
it's like, they're not, and especially at Joel's age, they're not competing for a particular spot where like, oh, if I don't come, I'm gonna miss out. I'm gonna get punished for that. Where on, let's take soccer as an example with Elise. There was all these kids trying to get that position every single day.
Okay.
So as soon as you slipped, one was ready to come in.
Okay, maybe it's that. I was putting the money piece on it, and that it's not a cheap sport.
Well,
it's not cheap, that's for sure.
And also the motivation. Like, the coach doesn't have to worry about motivation. Like, if you want to squander this and waste your money, go right ahead.
Yeah.
The coach doesn't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
I think that's a part
and
of it.
it's put, like, this particular environment has put so much more on the kid itself in terms of like their actual commitment, because knowing that, oh, I can miss this, or I don't have to do this, or don't have to do that, and I'm not going to have a consequence. Knowing that, but then still making the decision to stick with it because you want to, because you should.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's kind of like there's a little bit different lesson there.
Okay.
Yeah, and it also kind of goes to responsibility, I think, here, Adam, where the student or the player and the parents take on a lot more responsibility rather than the coach, everything being thrown at the coach. Like, if he doesn't make that shot, you're not going to complain to the coach. Like, maybe if all the students are missing consistently, you might have something to say to the coach. But on this, I think it just the responsibility factor really gets shifted back to the actual individual too,
For sure.
which is probably a good thing.
And I would imagine that some of these bigger schools where they have all of these kids, it definitely is more competitive because
Okay.
they do have a ranking.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're
And
just
that's
not
the
committed, then
handicapped.
you're going to lose that ranking.
Right.
Handicap has something to do with it, but yeah, it's just
Okay.
your results
It's
and your
like a
commitment.
varsity JV.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
And competition's
okay.
good too. Like we're not saying competition isn't good.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
just
yeah.
saying at the school that we go to, and probably a lot of people listening to this, and just a smaller program, you just don't have that pressure.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah,
and you have to
that's true.
that pressure has to be
Internally
within
driven.
you. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yep.
I was going to say, but back to your story. So then how long did you said you trained in Colorado Springs. So that honestly, if you lived close to Kearney, right? That's not a huge truck, like 5 hours, right?
No, it's about 8.
Oh, is it? Mm-hmm. Oh, because I feel like it's 8 from here. Okay.
Not to
Oh, but
Colorado
all,
Springs. Yeah.
oh yeah, all the way up. Okay. I was just thinking, well, it's not that bad, but, so then you trained there for how many years or how long did you get to do that?
Oh gosh, probably 10, 12.
Jeez. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, but at any point they could have been like, deuces, see you later.
Yeah, I mean
You
you have
suck.
to. Yeah, you have to earn your
Exactly.
earn your way
so
into
you
there.
stayed.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So they liked you enough to keep you that long.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Or I worked on it enough. One of the two.
There you go. Yes, it's probably that.
They liked me.
Yeah.
So what would be like, if you think through that, you said those 12 years that you were shooting or whatever the case may be, like what would be some of the high points there that you were able to experience or achieve as you kind of went through that program?
Well, the one is just, I mean, be honest with you, seeing the world, but I didn't take advantage of it, right? I mean, I was 12, 14, 16 years old. I didn't really understand that, not everybody gets to do this, right? And 27 different countries in that time frame. And, but that was a big one, right? And then you got a lot of experience of just traveling on your own, responsibilities, like growing up fairly quickly because they were putting me on a plane to Germany and like, there's nobody to hold your hand. You better.
Would you go? Like sometimes would they send you and your parents couldn't go?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I remember many times driving down Colorado Springs by myself and leaving after school on a Friday and literally not getting there until 11 p.m. midnight. And
And then have to shoot in the morning.
yeah, shoot in the morning, shoot Sunday, and then drive back because I got school on Monday.
Oh man. Yeah.
And then you had to, obviously you're bringing your gun. So, I mean, maybe that's a normal thing on flights today. I don't know. But do you just pack a gun and they check it and that's that?
Yeah, a little bit. I don't know
Yeah.
if I'd say you pack a gun.
No, but I
That
mean
may
like
not go well.
Yeah,
but
no. What I mean is like you pack it in a case is what I mean. Like you
And
don't
check it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a concealed case, and there wasn't really a whole lot of stuff back then when I was shooting too much. It was a little
Yeah, it's changed a
at
lot.
9/11. It was a little
Yeah.
tricky then,
Yeah.
because you notify the TSA that hey, this is a firearm and it's in a concealed case and all that, but you'd see people around
Yeah.
you like
Oh, yeah.
looking
What's
and
this guy
like
doing?
what
Yeah.
but you don't touch it until you hit your destination, and
Yeah.
so
So getting to travel the world and seeing all that stuff, that sounds awesome. What do you like? What kind of things did you get? Like awards did you achieve or whatever that you felt like you were most proud of?
Ooh, that's a good question. So I would probably say the most proud award that I have is the probably winning the World Championships in Cyprus, because of the time frame. So Cyprus was a March event over there, which was nice weather over there.
Okay.
Well, you can imagine what January to March is in Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, there was many days that I'd be out in 10, 15 degree weather, and I'm shooting in short sleeves and a T-shirt, right? Because I'm trying to mimic what I'm doing over there. And if I got a heavy coat on, it doesn't mimic what's going to be over there. And so I
Okay.
get bound up
Okay.
shooting.
Yep.
And so I remember many days just sitting there freezing and wondering, like, oh, man, is this worth it? And, to go over there and do that and to win it and, do those things, it's just, it brings out that, right? Like, you can do whatever you set your mind to.
Yeah.
like it
And-
paid off.
Yeah. And it was just, that's probably the most memorable one.
How old were you when you went through that?
16.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's wild. So, Cyprus is where?
So north, well, western, not quite to Russia.
Okay.
Oh,
So
I
Sweden,
had no idea.
Up in that area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah, that area has been in the news lately. So.
Finland. Yeah. I think we actually went from Cyprus to Finland. So afterwards.
And so you said earlier you had to do some fundraising. Was that just kind of through your school, or did you guys
Yeah, no, that was all
anything,
on my
sell
own.
cookies, like whatever? You just did whatever?
Yeah, so it was all on my own. So my school had nothing to do with it. Like my high school or anything like that had anything to do with it. But obviously it was expensive for me to drive to Colorado Springs. It was expensive for me to start to fly. It was expensive for all that stuff. And so I had some small stuff. Hornady was a big one, even though Hornady doesn't necessarily make shotgun bullets or anything.
Okay.
They actually sponsored me and helped out and like,
Oh,
we'll
nice.
donate XYZ amount of money for you to be able to do this.
Huge.
And I told you Heartland Shooting Complex at that time, it was Indian Island, they bought those traps out of their funds to, help support me and doing that things. And so,
Okay.
there was a lot of people that the owner of Chief Industries, which was a good friend of mine that we hunted with a lot of times, he was a Virgil Ihusen. And the Ihusen family, they donated a lot of money for me to just be able to travel and do
Okay.
all that. So
You couldn't have a job
no.
I was going to say, I don't want to say a normal teenager, but sometimes teenagers have summer jobs. So this definitely took the place of that with all your dedication and everything you needed to do.
Yeah. I mean, I was probably only in from basically April to like September. I might have been in the state of Nebraska maybe 25, 30 days.
I'm surprised you didn't ever just move there.
Yeah. I don't think my parents wanted that.
No, they didn't. Okay.
Probably not.
Okay.
I mean,
All
I'm
right.
sure they were mad at me as a teenager, but they'd still liked me a little bit.
But then I would be like, Dad, you're the one that took me.
Right.
Hey, you're the one that took me to that trip.
Yep.
So I just looked this up. Is Cyprus an island?
Kind of. It's not very big.
Yeah. It looks crazy. Like I can't imagine being 16 years old and going over here.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at some of the pictures of this. That had to have been wild.
Yeah.
Pretty
yeah.
cool.
It's one of those where you wish you were a little older so you appreciate it.
Yeah.
Because I was so young that I'm like, well, whatever.
Yeah.
Who cares about heritage and
Right.
Everybody goes to Cyprus once or twice.
right, like whatever.
Right.
I think it's interesting the point that Morgan brought up too about work and stuff. So you're going through that and you're training, and obviously like that's your life. When do you feel like you got your first real job? Whatever you would call a real job.
College.
Okay.
Yeah. So I got one in college with Cabela's. So
Okay.
kind of as a staff person on their hunting and shooting and marketing for them and things like that. And then I also worked I don't even know if I'd call it work. I may have worked there 3 days a year.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
a month.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah.
Yeah, because we kind of ran into that with our daughter, and that was always a debate. Was like going through high school and all these kinds of things. Like, oh, she needs a job, she needs real world experience, but she's hyper involved in building her soccer career, and it yes, it paid off for her in college and so on and so forth. But then, then they get to that point and then they don't have any work experience. So it's just kind of interesting in how athletes deal with that stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never had a real big issue with the work experience when I got in the working world, but I think my parents did a really good job of explaining to me that, here's what we're willing to do, right? You don't need to be like every other kid and go get a summer job, but here's the deal. This is your summer job. This is your responsibility.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
If we don't see that happening, right? We don't see you spending 4 or
Yeah.
5 days a week
Yeah.
investing into this, then you're going to go get a summer
Going to
job.
work, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Then
Yeah.
this is going to end and this is going to start.
Right.
Yeah.
You're going to lay pipe.
Yeah,
Makes sense,
exactly.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Well, good. This is
Yeah.
good info.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very
it's
cool.
interesting, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like how it translates to a lot of different things. Where it's like, well, what holds true over here for Skeet and Trap, also you could say works for a baseball team, or it's just kind of across the board the
Yeah.
reoccurring themes. I think.
100%. Last couple of things that I had. How do you feel? Your experience with that and traveling the world and competing at that high level and so on and so forth. How's that carried on to what you do today, and how you apply that to your life today?
For sure. One of the big ones that we talked about So one of the things when you get onto like a national stage like that, I should say, is you get some different mental help and psychological and how to prepare for, you know, competitions and relaxing nerves and things like that. And how do you do that, right? And there's physical things, there's techniques and stuff like that. But one of the big things that I think I learned was, you know, that if you view the masses and do the opposite, you're probably going to crush it. And so even in that world, they talked about like, you know, here's 75 people trying out to make three teams, which is 8 people. You know, they're like, well, watch all these other people and how they train, and then go do the opposite if you want to make the team, right? And a lot of other people would train, and they may shoot 100, 150 shots a day, right? We shoot usually 75 shots a competition, and then 50 the second day. Well, I'd watch like a guy like Todd Graves, who kind of mentored me and was an Olympian and things like that. He would shoot roughly around 250 to 400 shots a day.
Jeez.
And then he would do different station work, right? But you're out there, like you said, with shooting, right? We were out there 8 to 10 hours a day. A lot of people were out there 4 to 5. Cool, I've done my training, and now I'm going to go do some fun stuff. You know, and that wasn't realistic. And he taught me, create this like it's your job. Most people work a 40-hour work week. Work 40, 50, 60 hours out here.
Sure. Makes sense.
Yeah.
One of the last things I was thinking about, it made me, it came to mind when you were talking about you're trying to train for a completely different environment as far as weather goes here in a completely different environment. You're wearing your shorts and so on and so forth. Have you ever seen, and this is just a sidebar, any like indoor shooting facilities that have to do with clays?
Mm-mm.
Doesn't it seem like a no-brainer?
I mean, it seems like it'd be easy to build.
Seems like you guys should
put
start
together.
one.
So
Right?
my point is, are we ready to go into business to do this?
Oh, here we go.
Oh, damn.
I'm sitting here looking
Fitness
at
focused firearms at an F.
I'm sitting here looking at this whole industry and the little bit of experience that we've had with it. And I brought it up to Morgan and I said, God, this industry is like, or this sport is just ripe for the picking. And if you take the intensity, and you take the intensity that you had on a national level in just this particular sport, but if you take the intensity that we've experienced in soccer, in basketball, whatever, and apply that to this particular sport, I mean, I feel like it would just make it absolutely ridiculous. And again, back to what we talked about earlier, maybe you don't want to do that because it just needs to still be its fun, exclusive
We
thing.
want our niche
but
over here.
yeah, I don't know. It just feels like it's something that is ripe for the picking. And if you had a cool, even basic indoor facility where people could come and train in any environment and any trap setup and so on and so forth, I think it'd be awesome.
So
Yeah.
in none of those places you traveled to in the 27 countries or whatever you said, no one had anything indoor?
Mm-mm.
So-
Not for
That's
shotgun,
crazy.
So-
air rifle and stuff.
Okay, because I was
going
going to say there's always other places that we always forget about, but maybe not.
So you guys all have heard the moniker, there's no original idea. Like everything's came from this
Yes.
and then just people build on it, right? You just have to put your original, thumb on it.
Spin on it, yeah.
So I'm going to meet all you guys halfway. It's already been done. It's Top Golf, but with shotguns. You got the little heaters there. You got the net
Didn't you
there.
see the new
100%.
baseball?
Yeah,
There you go.
Yeah.
You
The
know,
new baseball thing is coming?
the complex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's called like Top Baseball or
Oh.
something where like, no, I'm dead serious. I saw it on
I believe
baseball.
you. Yeah.
Or Facebook that they're like making these baseball places like Top Golf where you can
Oh,
like
cool.
hit.
And that's
different- I
that's
don't know.
that's a great example. And what you said there, Andy. I mean, the way you could just imagine
Yeah.
standing there with shotguns.
Yep.
Obviously, you're not going to have beers and stuff, but you're going to
Well, I mean, let's keep this open.
have you're going to have your appetizers and all of your event, all these kinds of things, and that would be a perfect environment for that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it'd be fun as heck.
Yeah, 2 levels,
man.
3 levels, you know, corporate events,
Yeah.
the whole 9 yards.
Yeah. And
Fun.
I also want to point out, and this is kind of part of this conversation, this shooting sport conversation. I think what stops people from doing stuff like that is like the fear around guns.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, we don't want a bunch of people walking around with guns, whatever. And what I would say to that is go to a local trap meet.
Mm-hmm.
There is literally hundreds and hundreds of kids, if not thousands,
Yeah.
Kids.
walking around with a shotgun
Mm-hmm.
and ammo and getting to their position when they need to
Yeah.
and shooting, doing their competition, getting back, putting it away, doing all the things,
Yeah.
and there's no accidents.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. What's that park over on Harrison? Coke?
Coke Gun Club. Yep.
Yeah, gun club, and real nice facility, right? Nothing over the top or anything. They serve beer there after you're done shooting,
Right.
Yeah, they got a liquor license. But one of the guys that I introduced to the outdoors and bought him a shotgun for his wedding, actually.
You bought a guy a shotgun for his wedding.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
To my wedding.
It's a good gift.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
took him. I took him.
totally coming.
I took him turkey hunting, and he just loved it. And then his wife really liked being outdoors too. So I'm like, let's just make this for real. And I got him a shotgun. And then I took him to that facility, and like you said, we walked in there, and he was like shocked, like, oh my God, he'd never been around an environment like, but all these old guys were breaking down their shotguns and cleaning them. And he's never seen that many firearms in his life, and it freaked him out. And he said something like, oh my God, this doesn't feel like the safest place. I go, are you kidding me? This is the safest place in Omaha right now. Could you imagine someone coming in here and trying to stir something up with
Right.
all these boys and their shotguns? I'm like, this
Right.
is the safest place right now. And he goes, oh, you're right. Yeah, you are. Yeah, okay. So
think-
you got
yeah.
to be exposed to it. It's a projection that's put out there, and it always has been, but it's a false.
Yeah.
It's a false narrative. You
Yeah.
know, it's just you got to educate.
Well, and you rewind to not too long ago where, we talked about earlier where, kids, they have their gun at school and they're shooting at school and they're practicing rifles in PE class and,
Yeah.
in the back window of every pickup in the parking lot has a gun hanging and all these kinds. I mean, it's something
Yeah.
that has always been there.
Right.
People have just kind of gotten weird about it, but it's neat to see I think trap with what we're involved in, and I'm sure Skeet as well, is coming up. I'm seeing a whole lot more people talking about it and getting involved in it, which is awesome.
Yep.
We're excited for the next however many years we have. What do we got? 7 years of it coming
Yeah.
up.
Right. Assuming he wants to continue doing it. I don't know why
Yeah.
you wouldn't.
He might make
Yeah.
nationals. You guys might have.
You might have more than that.
You never know. You never know.
Yeah.
But it's great, and I wanted to chat a little bit about that. I haven't heard anybody talking about the sport, so I just thought it'd be fun to do, and especially with someone
awesome.
who's been as involved in it as you are. So, with all that being said, is there like anything else we didn't touch on that you wish we would have as far as the sport goes, or anything like that?
No, I think you touched on it. It's a sport that if you're listening to this and you haven't got into it, look into it because it's a ton of fun and it teaches kids a young responsibility at a young age.
Absolutely.
And more for that, they'll help them in everyday life, whether they go do national shooting competitions or anything.
Yeah.
And I think that's huge.
When you look at yourself, I mean, how much shooting do you do today now? Like that's an example I'm using.
Not
It's
a
like
ton.
it was your life, and you got through that and learned a ton of stuff from it, and are very thankful for it. And now today, it's like you're still kind of around it or whatever, but it's not like
Yeah, I mean, I make it out once every other week,
yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, same kind of thing as any other sport.
Yep.
What we're talking about. So. Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you coming back. This was something that since we had you last time that I've given a lot of thought to, and I thought, man, this would be a perfect topic for common folk.
It is.
So.
Yeah. And I'm excited to see you guys outside.
We're gonna go out back
Yeah.
here. Yeah, we're gonna squeeze off a few rounds and see what happens.
Can I
It's
join?
fun.
Can I take the class?
Yeah.
You need it.
I know.
You need it. Did you bring?
It came back. Did you bring
Did
it?
you bring your shotgun?
I did not.
Oh,
But I can go home and get it, you guys.
I know. You live close.
We'll find one for you.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
We're always looking out for you.
I appreciate it.
All right, cool. Well, what do you think? Close it out.
Sounds good.
Later.
All right. Peace.
All right,
Thank you,
see
guys.
guys.